So I'm going to slice the spring onions quite fine. Like so. And you want to get the green, some of the green part as well, because it kind of adds freshness to it, and it's a slightly different flavor from the more pungent white part. The whole point about tabbouleh is that it has to be a very crisp, very neat salad. Okay, that's enough onion. It's very, very important to chop parsley well for tabbouleh. There are different ways of chopping parsley. You've got the regular classic chef's way, where you kind of chop coarsely and then you go across the herbs and go, you know, with your knife, you go back and forth, back and forth. And what you do is that you're chopping the herb in tiny little squares or triangles or whatever. And some of them will be bruised because of the action of the knife. Whereas for a perfect tabbouleh that is going to find you the best husband in the world, you need to kind of like shave the herb to achieve very thin slivers, which remain crisp. And also, it's stupid, but it's a bit like in Chinese cooking, where you shape the chopping, and the shape of the whatever you're chopping is very important. So you have to have these kind of thin, long, thin slivers of herbs that are not going to, once you have the seasoning, they're not going to kind of, not quite dissolve, but go soggy. You cut the kind of coarse bits out and kind of slide them under the thing. And then you're shaving the parsley into long, crisp slivers. And this is what you want to do. And this is how your tabbouleh is going to be once it's seasoned. It's not going to kind of go soggy or anything. And will keep, it's difficult to say shape, but will be beautiful as well. So you can see here, you see the slivers and you see the difference between the kind of square, slightly bruised, coarse, and the refined sort of Rolls Royce of chopped tabbouleh. This may appear rather tedious, you know, kind of picking leaves off the stalks, but that stalk you don't want in your tabbouleh. We go back to the coarseness. You know, basically what we want is a I don't know if sophisticated is the right word, but we want a very fresh and beautifully prepared salad. And you don't want any coarse taste in there or any coarse texture. This is basically what, and anyway, to tell you the truth, these are not really edible. Very stringy. So remember, gather the herbs under the palm of your hand, bunch them kind of quite closely together, and back to the sort of shaving action to produce these long, beautiful slivers. There. Slice the tomato in thin slices across like this. Again, use a very sharp knife. And once you have your thin slices, you go across like this and across like this. It's a good idea, once you've chopped your tomatoes, instead of adding them to the parsley, to put them in the bowl, wait for about 15 minutes for the juice to release, and then drain the juice, so that when you add the tomatoes to the tabbouleh, you're not adding any liquid that will dilute the seasoning or that will sog it up, and this way you end up with a gorgeous, crisp, super refined tabbouleh. The one thing that really bugs me about the way Western people make tabbouleh is the kind of burgle they use and how much of it they use. It really gets me. So what we have here is very, very fine burgle and dark burgle. And you don't have to soak it, you don't have to do anything to it, you just have to rinse it in cold water and let it sit for a bit to fluff up and then add it to your tabbouleh. And if you look at this beautiful bowl, what you see is green and red, and this is what you want. This is what a tabbouleh is: parsley and tomato with only a little bit of burgle. I've just rinsed my burgle. It hasn't actually, as you can see, it's very wet, and this wet look is going to disappear in about 15 minutes because the water is going to go inside the grain and fluff it up, and the grain will be like, instead of that tiny size, it's going to double up. It's a bit like with couscous, when you put hot water in your couscous and it kind of blows up, you know, fluffs up. And all it takes is about 15 minutes, and every now and then you just kind of stir it with a fork, and that's it. So here are my beautifully chopped ingredients. The most perfect burgle you can have. And this is as little as I'm going to use. Now, in Lebanon, they love lemon juice. They just love it. Tart, you know, taste that makes you kind of squirm or something. I don't, also because I like to drink wine with my food. So I use a lot less lemon juice than people do. Half a lemon is enough here. And the interesting thing about the seasoning is you just don't think about using cinnamon in a salad. But I use a little, we're going to use a little bit of cinnamon. This is a great typical Lebanese spice, 7-spice mixture that has different peppers, cinnamon, coriander, I think a little bit of nutmeg. And it gives the salad more heat than just the plain heat of pepper. But I'm going to use, we're going to use a black pepper as well, quite a bit actually. Very important to use good salt.